Beyond the Pelvis is hosted by Dr. Keneal Siegel, a pelvic floor PT and intuitive healer, and Laura Haraka, a somatic practitioner and breathwork facilitator. Each week, we explore alternative and holistic approaches to healing chronic pelvic pain and other painful or chronic conditions. Join us and other experts in mind, body, and spiritual healing as we discuss a wealth of modalities ranging from ancient practices to modern therapies that challenge the conventional Western model of treatment. Let's get right to it. Welcome back to another episode. And today on Beyond the Pelvis, we are thrilled to have Machiel Klerk. He is a psychotherapist, author of Dream Guidance, and founder of the Jung Platform. He is known for integrating Jungian psychology with dream work to inspire personal development. Machiel empowers individuals and organizations to nurture their relationship with dreams and as a result, break through limiting beliefs and experience rich, balanced lives filled with joy. Thank you so much for being with us and talking about dreams today. We're a podcast where we talk about chronic pelvic pain. So people might be really confused as to why we're going to talk about dreams. But I think we can tie it all in with the Jungian stuff, dreams, about how people can use that to overcome conditions, chronic diseases, whatever it is. So welcome and thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to share time with the two of you. I'm looking forward to exploring dreams.
So thank you for being here. And I'm just wondering if you could just share maybe a little bit about yourself, who you are today, and what brought you into this space.
Yeah. About in my early 20s, I was really stuck in my life. I had lost my dad at the age of 10, and my culture and my family didn't know how to grieve well. So I had a lot of unresolved grief that I've learned that if you don't tend to it, it creates a depressive pit. So I was walking in the swamplands of my own psyche and didn't have a future vision. Was in a dark place, and by some fortunate circumstances, I stumbled upon the works of Carl Jung. And Jung gave some ideas on how to think about my dreams. And so I did that, and at once it started making a lot of sense. Both the things that I was doing well as my shadow in Jungian terms, some of my destructive behavior. And I was looking at it, and I also saw that the dreams are moving towards a certain goal in a certain direction. So they're not just responses to what happened yesterday, but they also anticipate tomorrow. And so by aligning the direction that the dream is flowing in, I started aligning with my own energies. And that helped me to climb out of the pit. And I found a lifeline that was very colorful. And I kept hanging on to that because life got better. And even when life is difficult, it provides a way. The dreams is one way to navigate through the territory. And after that, I traveled the world, talked to many people, and studied cultures on how they engage with dreams. And I became a psychotherapist, working a lot with dreams, and have now studied many different traditions. And that is somewhat, in a nutshell, my journey with dreams.
Yeah. Do you find that how different cultures approach dreams is similar?
Till a certain extent. You have the indigenous tradition, which is somewhat similar all around the world, where there is the notion of you have this reality and the other world. And dreams would be one inflection of the other world that is inhabited by beings, ancestors, spirit guides, and other beings in the other world. And by building a relationship with the other world and the beings, all these indigenous cultures find ways of finding guidance and healing. So when you talked in the beginning about pelvic pain and health issues, almost throughout the whole world, initially one would turn towards the world of dream and its inhabitants for creativity and healing. And only our Western tradition in the last several hundred years have found different ways of healing that have some really sensational results. And there are other alternative forms of engaging with healing, and one is petitioning the dream for support, because there's very often a psychological component to physical manifestations and symptoms, and the dream can show and give us more insight in what the situation is psychologically that could contribute or could coexist with the physical condition.
So, can you tell me a little bit about how you work with clients when you discuss dreams and how a session would even go?
Yeah, so that is there's no one. It's dream work is not really an formula, but it's slightly more an art. But with most arts, there are some guidelines that you can follow that are helpful. So the shoe that fits one person pinches another, and you have always to figure out what's the best way to engage, because some dreams you can get are more diagnostic in nature, and you get a sense of what goes on. It's almost like an X-ray. And other dreams you can engage more with the dream characters or the dream energies, so you can feel into it and feel the energy. For example, a person is walking in the street and then sees a crocodile, gets really scared, runs. You could look at that now what's happening in your life that this dream might present itself, and they can say, oh, I'm scared to speak up to my boss. And then in the dream, the crocodile is somewhat symbolic of the fear they experience, but also the crocodile contains the medicine for the issue. So by being in touch with the crocodile and looking at the crocodile and sensing the strength, usually the strength of the crocodile, we get some medicine, some strength to speak up. So very often the dream itself contains the medicine. So after somewhat more an interpretive approach, the X-ray, I look with the patients in the dream for the medicine and then try to connect to it in some form. That is very often feeling into it, or even talking to the dream figures, or making some art of it, which brings that medicine or that energy into one's habitual consciousness, and then creativity or healing starts occurring.
How do you approach an individual who swears up and down they're not dreaming? They just don't have dreams.
Yeah. No, a very good question, because I hear those, and I've now so much experience with dreams that I'm like, I hear you. Just take a notebook and a pen, put it next to your bed. Say to the dream before you go to bed, "Hey, dream, you're never around, but according to Machiel, you have a lot of insight and wisdom. So please come by, and if you come by, I'll write you down." And when people do that, without fail, within 1, 2, 3 nights, they start dreaming. And it's very important to write them down immediately upon waking. Otherwise, they evaporate.
I have noticed that. I have several notebooks next to my bed.
Yeah.
One of them specifically dedicated as my dream journal. And I noticed there's times if I don't write it down immediately, when I'm ready to come back, I'm like, oh, it's gone. I remember pieces of it, but there's other parts that are gone. And I know it was significant. And no matter how much you tell yourself, like, I'm going to remember this, and you think about it over and over again, I'm going to remember it. You don't remember it.
No, and I've been working for decades with dreams, and still it happens once in a while to me that I think, oh yeah, no, this for sure I will remember, and I won't. And
Yeah.
that has to do with at night our short-term memory becomes inactive. And so the crazy thing is actually your mind is awake during sleep. And and while your body lays in bed, your mind is actually engaged in these dream adventures. And they're not movies being sent to you, but you're in a world having an experience. And we don't remember them because the short-term memory is not working. So that is why you have to write it down upon waking, because then that memory function kicks back in. So there's nothing to do with intelligence or willpower or telling yourself, I will remember this. The only thing that really works is write it down.
I find it so interesting because there's times that I've gone to sleep and I don't think I've had any dreams. And there's times before I go to sleep that I will literally say to myself, oh, I'd like to dream about this. And if I say that to myself, I will experience dreams
Yeah,
more often.
yeah. It is interest and curiosity seem to be the ingredients that trigger more dreams. But in general, there is something in us, and people call it all kinds of names, that whether it's the unconscious or the soul or more spiritual, the divine or God, that lives inside of us, and that responds to our interaction. And so when we ask it questions or tell it we would love to dream, or please help me with this issue, it responds. It's a phenomenon that all the cultures that I visited seem to have in some form or fashion worked out a way of engaging with the dreams for help and guidance in one's daily life.
Now, in your book, you give very good details in dream guidance about how individuals can interact with their dreams by writing down a question and then recording the dreams when they wake up. How
Yep.
would someone who experiences pain, right? Like you talked about in your experience, what brought you here was unresolved grief. And both Laura and I connected in on that because we just talked about, or we do talk about that it's unrecognized or unresolved emotions that get stuck in the body that can sometimes manifest as physical things.
Yep.
You mentioned that. How would someone use dream guidance to figure out what it is that they are still holding on to?
Yes, great question. You can this technique you can ask the inner healer or whatever, like Rumi calls it, the great friend, which I like.
I
And the
like that.
great friends want to support. And so you could ask the great friend a question such as, what emotions in me need attention? And maybe more specific, I have this pain in my pelvic, or I have the pain in wherever in your body. And what emotions could I tend to that would be beneficial for dealing with this issue? And then you probably get a dream that either someone is, the cab driver is really angry. And then it is what you want to do is you want to really look at what are the emotions that are being displayed in the dream. So don't become too literal, like, why do I dream about cab drivers? But see more what are they doing and what are the emotions. And then you can look at, there's a really angry figure in my dream. What is my relationship to anger? Can I express it easily or not? Am I too angry or not angry enough? And then you can start working with this cab driver and in all kinds of ways. That's one way that can be helpful for people.
So, yeah, that makes total sense. When I had a pain condition, pelvic pain, and I used to dream for quite a while that there was this scary figure
Mm-hmm.
coming to me. And I would wake up in a sweat. And what you just said now makes complete sense. It's like, what is my relationship with fear?
Mm.
And that was the cause of it. And I would ask when I stopped being scared of my pain for the scary figure to come back in my dream so I can connect with it.
Yeah,
And it
beautiful.
actually came back.
Mm.
Yeah, what happened? How did it come back, if I can ask?
Sure, you can ask. So I wanted to get to know it better.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was able to get it to know it better, I was able to take down the mask, and underneath the mask was me.
Wow.
Beautiful. Yes. And for those that listen, I think uh, ways to imagine our psyche, our soul slash body, they're maybe they're one and the same thing,
Mm.
is to assume that we're like a boarding house. And we live in the boarding house, and we have a bedroom and a bathroom and a kitchen and the living room. But in the boarding house, it's there is a basement, and there are other stores and other rooms, and there are different figures. Some live there permanent, and some are coming in and out. And sometimes we there's a character that would like to live through us. That can even be a talent, or that can be assertiveness, or that can be the one that is very critical, and we're not in a good relationship to them, and then they turn more dark, and then we have dreams by which they start chasing us, or like a burglar trying to climb into the house. And those are the inner characters that want to connect with us, and once we have a good relationship to them, life changes. It's like in fairy tales. The golden voice shows up as the beast in Belle and the Beast, and she's really afraid for it. And it is, but actually, he's also the talent, or the ugly little despised frog that knows where the golden ball is one of these figures in our own psyche that we've rejected. But once we start relating to it, things change, and actually they help us achieve something really important. So I hear you that you've done spontaneously that process already, Laura.
Yeah, and I was able to discover what I needed as well. Like you said, the medicine. What I needed was a lot of compassion for myself
Yeah.
throughout it. So I was able to find the medicine in the dream. So everything you're saying is just so surreal right now to me.
Yeah,
How do
beautiful.
you help people who they write down their question, they have the dream, they remember the dream, right? And they write that all down, but they're like, this doesn't help because dreams aren't so
Mm-hmm.
straightforward, right? Our mind, psyche, great friend, whoever it is not, they don't speak the same language we do. They sort of speak symbolically. How do you help someone interpret that basically?
Yeah, that's a really great question, because that's one of the biggest problems I run into and people run into. Like in that book, Dream Guidance, the steps are you have 5 steps. You can ask your dream a question. Most people do that really well, and then they have a dream, and sometimes a dream is really straightforward. They go like, "Oh yeah, get it," uh, and sometimes there's two things. One is sometimes people ask really big questions. Health questions sometimes are really big, and so they're also not solved with one magic dream.
Mm.
The dream is first, the dream shows what the issue is, or there's the angry cab driver, and then how do you relate to it and integrate it, and that could take months. So sometimes questions are, I want to find a loved one, a partner. Well, very seldom the dream says, well, go to Target aisle 8. I haven't
Yeah.
seen that yet. And almost always the dream will point to developing inner qualities of being kind to oneself, as if the inner situation then on a certain moment start triggering an outer situation. So that can take some time, and so when people have a dream, it sometimes the answer comes from an angle they haven't anticipated, and yes, it is symbolic, which people struggle with. Recently, I had someone told me a dream, and she said, I'm at my work, someone stole my purse. I knew it's a colleague, I knew who did it, but I don't say anything about it. And and if you listen a little bit to what is happening, then you get to a certain dynamic. This person asked, that is strange, why would they steal the purse? And I was like, yeah, maybe. But what you really want to listen to is what happens. You feel betrayed, you know who did it, and you don't speak up. Do you recognize that? And so asking a question as what is happening can help to get a bit of a structure of the dream. And then the other thing is think symbolically. And symbolic thinking, you get often to what it could indicate is by asking the question, what do I associate with? So if let's say you dream about John that was in your high school, and you think, gosh, I haven't seen John for a long time, then it's probably not literally John. Then John is one of those inner boarding house figures, and it takes on the form and shape of John. And by asking, what do I associate to John, you know the dynamic. And maybe you think, oh yeah, John, I remember, he was very funny. Then funniness shows up as John and comes into your life. So people can ask associations to figure out the symbolic relevance, or ask more questions as, what is the function of? Very often a dream starts somewhere. I'm in a hospital. Now, what's the function of the hospital? Oh, it's a place of healing. Or I'm at the university, place of learning. So you get a setting, which is the psychological setting of where, the inner psychological territory where a person finds themselves, and then ask those association questions, and then look at what kind of a pattern, and then you usually get somewhere, and otherwise, keep on puzzling. Ask a friend. Very often, someone else has some good insights.
That's true. I often call Laura when I have dreams just to speak it out, and sometimes speaking it helps me get more clarity. And I've also noticed that because I have the journal, right? I have the dream journal. I have gone back and looked at dreams that didn't make sense. And now I'm like, oh, whoa, now it makes a whole lot more sense. How did I not know that before? And I guess it was just my mind had to work it out, or I needed more time, or I don't know, but suddenly it makes sense later on.
I hear you. I have that too. Sometimes it's like a curiosity, and 3 months later, it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It really reflects how I was stuck with problem X.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find that you work on the same dream over time, or the same question over time? I know there's no, Jungian, and dream work, there's no like, oh, you work with this question for a week and then move on, or work with this dream for this length and move on. Is it more as things unfold? How does that work?
Yeah, I follow the dream. Let's say that you have pelvic pain, and you start with a diagnostic question. What causes the pain? Or what, and then it gives something, and maybe you work with it, and then a couple of days later, you ask the question, what are the emotions that contribute to this pain? And then you work that a little bit, and then you ask a question as, what is one thing I can do to improve the healing journey? And then see what happens there. and maybe you figure out in your journey that it is a certain form of criticalness that is attached to this pain. And then probably because with physical manifestations, usually the problem has become somewhat intense that it now starts manifesting physically. So it's also an issue that takes a little bit of time or more time before it gets resolved. And sometimes people are very close to the cure, but it can also be weeks, months, or years before a situation really changes in the full extent or for a big part. So a long answer to a short question.
It's okay.
So I'm just curious, have you worked with a lot of clients or people that have had pain conditions and helped them interpret these dreams?
Yeah, it's people come. People have the tendency to think about psychology as psychological issues, depression, anxiety, etc. Yet very often people also start having psychological issues because they are in pain, and so or something happens along the road, and by now people know that I also work with dreams to figure out is there what can we do psychologically on triggering the healing response in an individual. And the healing response is both psychological as physical. And so I've worked with people that have all kinds of problems, from tinnitus to cancer and stomach problems. And of course, not all problems like some cancers get cured, but people come with a whole range. And in the Asclepian tradition, where the tradition that our Western medicine has as a foundation in Greece, there people would go to the temple of Asclepius almost always with a healing question around a physical problem. Especially in those days, if you had a physical issue, it was limited other help than I have pain in my chest. Please cure this. And they would have, and there's a lot of little votives showing that a lot of people benefited in some form from the dream experience, getting either a cure or a direction to go in, a kind of a prescription. So dreams can form a nice complement in a person's healing journey when they have physical pain.
Now, you do incorporate, obviously, dream work in your practice, but do all psychotherapists do this? Or what is it that let's say someone is listening and they're like, I want this. Who do they go to? How do they know that they're going to get this kind of approach?
Yeah, you probably have to ask therapist. Jungian-oriented therapists have a higher element of working with dreams, but there some are somewhat interpretive and heady. Other are more embodied. So even there's a bit of a range of people that work with it. Some people have a bit of a shamanic approach. You don't have to be a Jungian to work with dreams, but it happens to be in that group more. So you have to ask around and see if the person does it. And you mentioned the lucid dreaming. That is what a lot of Jungians don't really get involved with, but it has a very high propensity for healing, because you're in that deeper states of your soul or your brain, and different waves, gamma waves mainly. And when you set an intention there or do on self-healing, remarkable success has happened. So lucid dreaming works very well. And lucid dreams are dreams in which you know that you're dreaming, And so you can, for anyone that becomes lucid tonight, you can imagine that you have in your hands some healing light, and then often a certain mantra as by the power of the divine, I shine this light on my arm, and I hope it will feel fine, or it will feel fine. And something to that extent. Just imagine already what you want to, how you will do your experiment. Don't wait till you get lucid, but just say, hey, dream, if I get lucid tonight, this is what I'm going to do. Now, a certain amount of people become easily lucid, can apply healing energy to themselves, and sometimes in 1, 2, or 3 times can solve really chronic problems that the medical industry otherwise couldn't do. I want to make a disclaimer, it doesn't always happen. It's not a guarantee, but anecdotal evidence shows that some people have had a miraculous cure by working that way. And it is free, it's your own psyche, you sleep anyway, give it a try. If it works, you're better off.
Right. Yes. Because I obsess over dreams, I also am obsessed with lucid dreaming, although I have not been able to master it yet. I've only had one instance I can think of a few years ago where I was aware that I was in a dream, but I wasn't able to. I know another level of lucid dreaming is being able to control the actions that happen. I was not able to do that. I was just aware that I am dreaming. This is happening. Oh, I'm still dreaming. I'm in the dream watching these things happen. Didn't quite get to that level of
Yeah.
controlling it. But I know people who easily get there. I'm jealous, but I work on it.
Yeah, great. Well, you can work on it, and that there's different variations in lucid dreaming, and from, oh gosh, grandma is here, grandma is dead. Oh, this must be a
Exactly.
dream,
Yeah.
and you just hobble along to, oh my gosh, I'm in a dream. Let me do an experiment, and you get full-blown lucidity.
Yeah.
But you can practice it, and I think an important part of dream work and lucidity is to know that a dream is a world that you find yourself in, or an environment. So it's not just a movie that you watch, you're somewhere interacting. And actually, your mind is already awake. So it sees grandma, and it has thoughts, and then you do things. And the lucidity is just that little push upwards that is going, oh, I am in a dream. And if you have a good intention on why you want to be lucid, you can even tell the dream, I want to be lucid. I would really love to figure out how can I be more kind, or learn something that is good for me and the world. That generous intention seems favorable for something in you to help. Sometimes even characters come by and they try to help you become lucid, or something happens. So just practice a little bit, and usually, even if you do if you do daily practices, and you're not an easy lucid dreamer, even within 2 months you will get lucid. But you need to have some stamina.
Got it. We'll work on it.
So do you find it's best just to ask yourself before you go to bed just one question, or should the question be, can you ask yourself 2 questions about what you want to dream about that night? Like, is there a protocol?
Yeah, it's easiest to just ask one question at a time, because then you can just read the dream against that one question. If you ask, how do I become rich and find the love of my life, then how do you know from the dream which to what part of your question it refers? So that becomes, it's more difficult that way. So ask one question, open-ended, before you go to bed. And for people that, most people have something that they want to know, ask something that's relevant. But for those that are listening now and they want to ask something, what always works well is what is one thing I can do to be more loving to myself? It's
Oh,
and something in us is stoked. Oh wow, you want to know that? Great. And then it shows a dream with activities in it that a person can do to be more loving to themselves. And I've also done it with in test with the other question that works well is, what is one type of food that is good for me or healthy for me to eat? And very often those become very clear dreams. I did this with my mom in a little group, and my mom had a dream in which she entered a room and there were 5 glasses of water, and she started drinking water, and then she woke up and she said, oh yeah, I know I need to drink a little bit more water. My
mm,
sister was in that same group. She came into at the table and there was peanut butter and eggs, and she thought, oh, I need to have more protein.
mm.
Yeah, so are there examples, but very often that triggers really understandable dreams, and that give a person confidence that something in us is interested in helping and educating, and then they ask more questions, but ask a relevant question and one question at a time.
You mentioned in your book, I recall, some people have trouble knowing they even dream or remembering a dream, but then there are some people like myself who I might remember all the dreams. Then it's like, oh, which one? They were
Yeah,
all so different.
yeah,
I do write them all down, what I can remember,
yeah.
and then I go back later. But how do you address that?
Well, if you would ask a question and you have multiple dreams, I see each dream as a different angle to the question.
Mm,
And I read it at least in that way.
okay, that's easy. Oh, thank you. And then you had mentioned before earlier, you talked about shadow. Can you talk about what that is? I know shadow work it's a thing, it's becoming more popular, but I know there's a lot of people listening who have no idea what shadow work is. So can you explain what that is and how dreams can be useful for that?
Yeah, the shadow is a term coined by Carl Jung. And he was a little bit ambiguous about it. But in general, at one hand, it is everything we don't know about ourselves. So that would be in our shadow. And on the other hand, is it every aspect has a light and a darker side, and a light and a shadow side. So you the assertiveness, the darker side would be tyrannical, overly aggressive, and so that would be too much, and so that could become its shadow, or the shadow would be too meek, and so everything has a plus and minus, and we often see in dreams that we have a lot of fear, or are very critical to certain aspects of ourselves, and they often contain something valuable if we find the right way to relate to it. Or another way is, just take a person that you don't like so much and think about one of the characteristics that this person has that you don't like. Now, you write that down. You'll take something like, I think about my neighbor, and my neighbor, I don't like that he's so greedy. Then greediness is probably part of my psyche, my shadow. And then I can ask myself, am I not greedy enough, or am I also too greedy? Because if I am really generous and I expect that people also give to me, and then they don't give to me, and then I get upset because they're not reciprocal in the process, I become upset that neighbor John always takes from me and never gives back. So I have a problem with my inner greediness, and how it can protect myself. So that is shadow work and how it could work. And so or you think this person is really very dictatorial. Well, where is my inner dictator? And is it too much, not enough? And if I find a good way with it, if I'm okay with my own greediness, I can be to neighbor John like, oh yeah, I know what you have. That is painful. And no, I cannot extend my energy here to you. Or no, actually, I'm not going to share this. I can say that without getting really upset because I'm comfortable with my own self, and then being with a darker impulse in someone else because I'm in touch with my own darker side.
It's a good way of putting it. You know, I've heard some people express that, oh, there's parts of us that we want to get rid of these parts of ourselves, where that just didn't resonate with me. And I feel like, but those parts are necessary, right? They can be part of you, but you don't have to act on them all the time. But maybe they do come in handy at some point, you know, like the dictatorship thing. Like maybe it is a positive thing to stand up to someone at some point if
Right.
they are, you know, going to overstep your boundaries. That's
Yeah.
when it is beneficial. So it's really about integrating and being comfortable with that part of yourself, knowing it exists and not feeling shame or guilt for that part, for having that, you know, shadow part of yourself there.
Right. Right. Yeah. Beautiful. We all have a shadow. So it's not, gosh, why do I have it? No, we all have it. Welcome to the human family.
Yeah.
And we usually don't like our own shadow. So we try to, that's where people try to get rid of it. Oh, I don't want to feel insecure, or I don't want to feel like a coward. And then, well, I cannot be that. But then that character still walks in our basement. It doesn't really go away.
Mm.
And if we ignore it too long, it will start doing things that we don't like, and that can get to a physical symptom, but it can also become anxiety or other neurotic symptoms. And so we're one better off to say, well, inner coward, come to the table.
Yeah.
Tell me what is so difficult here, and let's see how we can handle this better together. Then we become more whole, and it's
Mm.
okay to have a shadow, even if it's difficult. But it's more, how can we be compassionate to ourselves? And once we are that, we're automatically going to be compassionate to other people. Because if I am not okay with my own inner coward and I see it in someone else, I'm going to be highly judgmental. The judgment is just a reflection of my own inner discomfort with being a coward sometimes in some areas.
Mm.
I love that because it's just about loving every part of yourself.
Yes, yes. And it starts with accepting, and then it's begrudgingly, now I have a seat at the table. I'm not at the place I can love you yet. Actually, I still think you're highly annoying. You relate to it and say, oh, what is scary here? What do you need? How can we do this together? And then also things change, and then you become a little bit more courageous when necessary, or when you have a moment where you lack the courage, you become more okay with being vulnerable and having flaws and live life. And most people relate to other people because they're having flaws. It's very hard to relate to a perfect person. Perfect people are admirable, but it's not easy to be friends with them, buddy.
And it's all part of healing, loving all those parts of yourself. So when
Yeah.
we're in pain, it's one of the things that I try and help clients with is loving all the parts of ourselves, not dismissing those parts.
Yeah, totally. And it's very hard to loving pain is maybe a stretch, but how do you start accepting the pain? And I've seen with sometimes with more chronic pain that you cannot get rid of the chronic pain, but that constant fighting against it And if you don't fight against it, and you start having moments that you forget about it, and then and you're not constantly looping, oh, I wish this was gone, or what horrible, or I can't live this way till 85. What if I die earlier? It wouldn't be so bad. And all those understandable responses you can change by some form, step by step, accepting the pain and disconnecting these spontaneous thoughts that you respond to the pain. And then you can live with it in a better way.
So I'm just curious. All dreams have to mean something.
Well, I think it's a great question. I wouldn't know for sure. I doubt that they all have deep meaning. Maybe there's some dreams that clearly are that show that we're processing or memory formation. So the meaning would be more like our memory strengthens, and if you push it really far enough, it would be the same as, does everything in this reality have meaning? And even, is there meaning, or do we create meaning? And we could also say this is all a creative expression of the universe, and it's just doing this because it enjoys this. And then we start creating meaning. So who knows? It's a difficult question, that meaning question, but I think that some dreams are clearly more meaningful than others. And
Yeah, I agree. I feel like some dreams, some of them are superficial. Like the one you did with the food, what type of food? Like, that's not a deep thing. That's a superficial thing. Like, oh, I need to drink more water. Oh, I need to eat more protein. It's not a deep thing. Like, oh, you're not processing your rage or your grief or whatever it is. So I don't know. I feel like dreams they have their purpose, and whether deep meaning or not, it is beneficial for our psyche to dream. Otherwise, we wouldn't spend a third of our life doing it.
At least we sleep a third of our life,
A
and
third.
most current day research indicates that dreaming doesn't stop when we open our eyes, but that it's a stream of consciousness that coexists with this consciousness. And so dreaming goes on and shows up during the day as fantasies, daydreams, intuitions. And so it looks like we're always in touch with dreaming consciousness, and at night we just sink into it.
Mm.
The day we're slightly more we're in a slightly different state.
So daydreaming. I mean, people readily accept, oh, daydreaming is a thing. Um, but yeah, you're talking other stuff too, like intuition, or I've had random visions or thoughts that has a whole complete picture and images and everything to go with it in the middle of the day with my eyes open. And no, and it's nothing that I'm thinking of, like, what am I going to do later or have for dinner? It's just a random thing, as if I were dreaming, where it was like, whoa, what's that? What does that mean? Yeah, so it happens.
It's kind of like a download just comes to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the dreaming consciousness that is always present, and we're in and out, and at night a little bit more in it. But you mentioned something before that made me think also about we can sometimes ask more the question, what's the invitation that this dream presents? What does it invite me to grow in? Because there's sometimes in the Western tradition a bit of an idea as if the dream is a kind of a school teacher that corrects our behavior. And if you go further into dreaming, you see that this source of dreaming is non-judgmental. And so it isn't really critical. All that criticalness comes more from our own self. And so dreams as invitation to grow into the next part. Like if a tree has a branch, the branch is just a new expression. And a lot of our dreams are just the next branch of our life. And if we go that direction, we become an interesting tree with lots of branches.
So if you could leave our listeners with just one last thought today, what would it be?
Well, tune in to the next podcast that the two of you do.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, maybe another is just play and just play. Go tonight to your dream. You've listened to this. You're primed for dreaming. You're primed for asking your dream a question. Either write down one question you want to know, or use one of those questions I suggested as what's one thing I can do to love myself more deeply, and then just see what happens. I mean that you dream and sleep anyway. Create a little ritual, ask the question, play around, and you strengthen the relationship to your own self that isn't dreaming but is also in daytime active, and there's many ways to connect with it, but dreams is just a really great way.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. And where can people find you?
Online, I'm at my website is machielklerk.com. That's my name, MACHIEL, or I have an online organization called the Jung Platform, JUNG Platform, that was created in a dream. There are all kinds of programs on dreaming, with I think 25 courses on dreaming and another 175 courses on different psychological topics for the general audience. So just if you're interested, you qualify, and that's where people can find me. And if they're interested in doing dream work, they can email me. And
yes, and I will say you're very accessible, so you might be bombarded. But thank you so much for taking the time to share all this amazing information, and I think it will help someone, and I hope everyone will just build a relationship with their dreams going forward.
Thank you so much for being here. It was great.
It was a pleasure, and I loved the genuine interest and that you had, so it made the time fly by.
Thank you. You're so welcome.
If you'd like to leave us a message or ask a question, please check the show notes with the link so you can reach us directly, or email us at beyondthepelvis@gmail.com.